Are you ready to stop working in your business and start working on your business? In this episode, we'll be talking about when is it time for you to start bringing on help, and what are the easiest positions for you to sub out. Then, of course, how do we do things that we've never done before? And last but not least, the number one reason why I finally succeeded at working on my business instead of working in my business. There's one thing that happened to me that changed everything, and I finally had a business that I own instead of a business that owns me. It almost always starts out the same. We start out broke. We start out part-time, after hours, trying to get some traction and find a deal. Then it works into full-time. We quit our jobs. We have some traction, and we're doing everything from beginning to end. We're burning that candle at both ends. And then finally, we get frustrated. We have so many hats on, and we're trying to do so many things that we're not doing any one thing very well, and we're exhausted. So when is it time for you to start bringing on help? You'll know when you're burned out, or when you're so frustrated you can't hardly function, or when you realize that I'm doing all kinds of things all day, but I'm being ineffective. These are just some of the signs that'll let you know when it's time for you to start bringing on somebody. Hopefully you don't wait until the burnout phase, because sometimes by the time we get burned out, there's not even enough left of us to start to recalculate our business. I personally came to the conclusion that it was time to start bringing on help. I started to realize that yes, I was self-employed, but really all I had was a glorified job where I was the owner. I was not running my life. This business was running my life. I was not running this business. This business was running me. So that's when I came to realize that I had to start making some changes and that I couldn't go on this way any further. Things had gotten so bad that I was not able to complete even one task before the phone would ring and I would have to begin another task. I was constantly just running from fire to fire to fire. At one point in my career, I averaged 6,700 minutes per month on my cell phone. And I do remember because at the time, cell phone bills were much different. And my biggest cell phone bill ever was $1,800, which was at the time 3 times more than my house payment. So when you find yourself running like that, it's time to pull back and look at yourself and your business in a new light and make some changes. So how do you go about putting in systems, reorganizing, hiring the right personnel for the right jobs, deciding how many jobs and how much personnel you need? These are all things you're probably not equipped to do. So if we wanted to fly an airplane, what's the first thing we would have to do? Let's say you've never flown before, you want to fly an airplane, what are you going to do? You're probably going to go to a flight school and hire an aviation coach or an instructor, and you're probably going to have to pass some tests and get a license. But you're not going to do that on your own, are you? No, you're going to get a coach or an instructor. So I suggest, why don't we think and take that same approach when we're trying to do something we've never done before? And this is how we're going to do something we've never done before, is we're going to get a coach. All right, before I tell you this story about how I went from having my hands on everything in my business to not even going to the last 400 houses I bought and not even knowing the last 400 people who bought my houses, I want to ask you to do me a favor. If these kinds of episodes have been helpful, will you please hammer on that like button, hammer on that share button, and of course, subscribe, because there's a lot more content over the next year coming. We're going to be putting out an episode once a day, 5 days a week for the next year. So in my career that has spanned so far about 25 years, about the 14, 15 year mark, I was so burned out, I couldn't do it anymore. And I was going to take this business that made well over $1 million net every year, and I was going to fold it up and put it in a box, and I was going to put it on a shelf somewhere because I just couldn't do it anymore. Now, I had tried to systematize, automate, and hire people for my business before. I had done it about 5 times before I had tried, and I had failed all 5 times. But I couldn't just make myself put this business in a box. It was too much money. I kept thinking, Mitch, even if you gave up $600,000 a year of your income, at least you'd still have this business and it'd still be producing you $400,000-$500,000 a year minimum. And that's a long ways from closing it up, putting it in a box, putting it on a shelf, and making zero. So I just could not, as much as I needed to, wanted to, because of my exasperation, because of my lack of energy, because of my whole burned outness, if that's a word. But the monetary side of me, the fiscal side of me, wouldn't let me do it. So I decided that I was going to make one more run at it. And this time, I was going to hire some people who had done it before me. In my business, exactly in my business, I was going to find some people. And I was going to find some people who had automated, systematized, and had worked their way out of their business doing exactly what I do. And I found it. I found the mastermind across the country. And I went and signed up for that mastermind. Now that mastermind cost me $30,000 if it cost me a penny. By the end of the day, from the time the sign up to the hotel rooms, the flights, everything, about $30,000. But at this point in my career, $30,000 wasn't my problem. And I was desperate to try to learn how to keep this business and not fold it up in a box and just ship it off to Zeroville. So I joined this mastermind and I went with this attitude. I'm going to let these people unwind me and I'm going to let them rewind me a different way. I'm going to go with an open mind, and this time when I go, I'm going to listen, not talk. I'm going to ask questions, not deliver answers. And I went there as a student to be a student. And I did let those people coach me. I did let them remold me. And of course, the whole time I'm monitoring, does this make sense to me? Because of course, if it doesn't make sense, then we're just not going to go down some path that makes absolutely no sense to you. But these people were making sense. And I would watch this man, and he would show me his business and how he made it all automated and systematized. And it was a little bit different than this man over here who showed me in this mastermind how he did it. And I would take a little piece from this guy, and I'd take a piece from this guy, and a piece from the other guy over there, and a piece from the other guy over there. And I got together with all of them and said, would it work like this if I took your portion? I liked how you did this. I liked how you did that. My office is a little different than y'all's. I need to do it this way. Will this work? They coached me through. And at the end of that session, I finally figured out why I succeeded in automating my business and systematizing my business this time when I didn't all those other times, those 5 times before. The reason why I failed the first 5 times is, number 1, I didn't go get help. I didn't go talk to someone who had already done what I was trying to do. I tried to invent it on my own out of my own head, and I didn't know what I didn't know. But the biggest reason that it worked was on that 6th time that I tried, I didn't care if I bought a house that year or not. I was not even worried about my house business at that time. I knew I could turn that switch on or off. I could find houses whenever I wanted to. I was a pro. I was doing over 100 houses a year for a decade and a half at that point. So what the difference was, the first 5 times I tried to do it, I did not allow me to not buy 100 houses that year. So I was trying to automate and fix my business in the amount of time I had left over after I had bought and sold 100 houses. The time that it got fixed on the 6th time, I didn't care about anything. So that year, I only bought like 30 houses instead of 100. And those houses just walked in and laid down on my desk. I wasn't even looking for those 30. They just walked in my desk and fell over. So I did 30 instead of 100 because I was focusing that year on how to fix my business so that I could exit it and that it would run without me. And it worked. And it worked because you have to take a step backwards to fix something sometimes. I had to take a step backwards in my production, going from 100 houses down to 30 houses, so that I could take all that time to fix what was broken in my business. And that's exactly what it did. It took about 14 months, and I fixed it. And again, I'm happy to report I have not seen the last 400 houses I've bought and I have not spoken to or seen the last 400 people who have bought my houses and moved in and now owe me payments every month. That's a business, and that's what I was shooting for my whole life and just didn't know how to do it. But now I have a real business. I have the money coming in. And here's an interesting fact. I thought I was going to have to give up about 50% of my net profit in the house flipping business to get people to run it. And that's not what happened. I now make more money than I ever made at my business, despite the fact that I have to pay all these people. And you know why? It's because the guy that sits in that desk right there, that's all he has to do. He is so much better at that job than me. I can outperform him on that job. But when I had that job, I had all the other jobs too. When he gets that job, that's all he has to do. So he is outperforming me in that job every single day. And the same thing with that chair over there, and that chair over there, and that chair over there. Every one of them, none of them were as good as me when I put my mind to it. The problem was I could never put my mind to just one thing. I had to go in all different directions, and therefore I wasn't as good as them in the individual positions. And that's why it worked. You know, I had heard it said, you'll make more when you do less. I didn't believe it. I believe it now. There is so much to talk about in this segment that I think we're going to break it up into two pieces, A and B. So if you want to hang around, I'm going to be covering the difference between employees and subcontractors, what positions are easiest to sub out, and then a little bit more on systems, processes, and procedures. So stay with us. And today I want to give you a free gift. It is an archived recording of a group coaching Q&A call that we did. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, and it really helps you understand how you can benefit from a coaching call. And this is a weekly coaching call. It's done the same night of every week, week after week after week. And you can get a feel for how these calls go and what we're learning there and what you can learn by just listening in on the problems that other people are having and how we're resolving those problems. So go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff and then scroll on that page until you see recorded Q&A call. Click on that and it'll be digitally downloaded and you'll be listening to it in a few seconds.